Welcome to SAGA, where we bring you insights from the leaders who are shaping e-commerce and retail. Today, we have an exciting guest. Welcome, Mrs. Pallavi Pandey, and she is VP and Head of Marketing Max Fashion India. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Rupak. Thank you, Ramnan.
How are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you so much. It's a very pleasant day meeting you all, and very congratulations on your new venture of this saga and interviewing all the people.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
So we would like to start with some of the questions. Can you tell us about your journey of becoming VP and head of marketing at Max Fashion?
A very interesting journey. I would say that I started as a management trainee, my first stint, and I'm very glad that it was a campus placement. And I worked with one of the biggest retail organization, ABFRL. Worked with that brand, couple of brands, and then shifted into completely a different sector of fashion and footwear lifestyle. And it just entered in India, and it was Puma Sports India. Then moved into advertising, and finally went into a large format of pantaloons, and now in fax fashion. So I feel that it's been a very, I would say, diverse in terms of how the whole career shaped, how I moved. So that's where I am at Max Fashion, and I'm very glad to work with the biggest brand in India.
That's great. Can you tell us some crucial moments in your career which influenced you and your leadership and marketing approach?
So I would say that there were many of them, but if you ask me, few of them on the top ones were when I started my career as a creative person because I'm coming from a fashion background. I learned fashion. I did entire fashion space in terms of creative, and how I shifted from creative to strategy was one of the pivotal role which played. A very important role, which I really thank that how I started was my internship with advertising, and again I went from the client and the brand side back to advertising. And advertising really shaped a lot of insights and a lot of learning in terms of how do you see the consumer perspective from this side and how do you put it across when you talk to the consumer from the brand perspective. Third important part is that how I shifted many roles in terms of vertical and horizontal in every stint. So if you ask me, that was very important part of my shaping up because I moved roles in within the organization very fast, and that really helped me to grow and see things in different projects and different challenges. So that's where I feel lucky in that sense because if I see it in every organization and every stint which I have done, I have changed role. So I would really say that was one of the other pivotal role which really enabled me to think differently and do differently because every time uh, whenever a new challenge comes, you don't prepare for yourself. You just, you just been into that thing and you have to just perform. So I think I was very lucky to perform and also with the guidance of my leaders.
Okay. So, Mrs. Pallavi, Max Fashion has a strong brand presence in across India. And what are the strategy you particularly use to consist the brand identity throughout the different region?
So the most important strategy which Max always believed strongly and still believed, the way that we communicate to the consumer and offer to the consumer is fashion at great value. So value was always a very given thing for us, and we always, cherish that thing that we are the most affordable value format player in the market. The interesting part is why do we say that fashion at great value? We give international fashion to our consumers, and it is the way that we give it is, I won't say that it is something that you will see it tomorrow, it is something that you will see it today, then week after it, then week after it. So I think that's why the whole crux of it is that how do you always operate at fashion at great value. Second most important part where you're saying that how do we be little more relevant to the market, how do we be little more true to the consumer. One of the key things that we realized is that the freshness of what we offer, the frequency has gone up. So whatever we offer has a good frequency of what the consumer is going to see it. Third important part is that the harness of being the most important part is that is like how do you actually be relevant to the consumer and get to remind them that we are an international brand.
Yeah.
So we are the only international large format brand from Dubai, and we entered in 2007 with our first store, and now we are on 520 plus stores in India with 220 plus cities. It's a very large brand which is there. The most important part which we keep on reminding to the consumer, it is the only international brand in terms of the largeness and the presence we have.
How has the rise of influencer marketing impacted Max Fashion strategies? What your approach to collaborating with influencers?
I think this question, is a very, very relevant question at this point of time, and many times this has been asked. I would say you cannot exist without influencer marketing at this time where digital is multiplying. Digital is where the consumer is scrolling every second, on their mobile. So what they are doing, they're absorbing content, and they're absorbing content from everywhere. I mean, from food to the groceries to even fashion to lifestyle, everything. But I think most important is that how the brands are using the influencer marketing. We also realized, and it was a journey for us also, that how do we pivot this entire strategy. The important part that we went into, that how do we identify influencers who are real in terms of their expression. So rather than doing too much of quantity, went into quality of content where it has to be organic rather than paid. So right now, if you see like a lot of brands which go into the real form of expression, real form of telling a story, is something which is becoming slightly more relevant to the brands. And that's how we are approaching in terms of that. The second part is that how do you differentiate between Cat A and Cat B and Cat C? So I think we also realized it that geography is no more a constraint, that you always go into certain geographies to work with influencers. We are seeing that entire East and even South is coming with very, very strong influencer space. And they are not the ones who are so big, but the kind of quality of the conversation and the quality of the content they put it, we feel that if we go like really first mover advantage, we will also get a little more differentiation with the brands where you pay to the influencers, which is also important for the reach. So I think what I meant to say is that where do you draw a line where you have campaigns to drive reach, and where do you draw a line where the campaigns or the conversation are more in terms of realism. So I think that's where the play is of the reach versus engagement.
So, can you tell us about some of your past experiences which prepared you for challenges and opportunities in fast-paced industry like retail and fashion?
I think I was very new to retail when I joined. I was always thinking that should I be into retail or should I be into something else? But I love being into retail. I think the energy and the passion that you get it in retail is very high. I mean, the velocity of being agile and flexibility that you require to be, I mean, that's where you asked me that how do you actually cope up with the fast pace in terms of your strategy and what has changed in terms of those things. One of the biggest project which I did very long time back was 100 stores in 100 days.
Okay.
It was a very big project, and I'm still very emotional about it. It was a brand which was growing in India, and this was my first, stint where I was moved from a very big brand to a brand which was reviving itself. And I still remember that line, beginning of new things. So a brand called Peter England, and there we had this project. How do we expand, and how do we get the market share fast? And I was thrown into that project that you have to do the entire, visual merchandising and plus marketing in terms of how do you open the stores in 100 days. And it was a very big energy which we did it. And that was one of the things which I learned, that how can you be actually pace with time and also be collaborative with different teams to make sure that you're opening each store each day. So it was a very big thing for us. That was one of the very challenging project. The other challenging project, I would say, when I worked with one of the fashion footwear lifestyle brand. Uh, they were changing the entire identity of in India, and we call it 2.0, and that was where I learned so much in terms of store design and how the experiential marketing came into picture. So when experiential marketing
Yeah.
was really not a big thing at that point of time, how do you actually take a space of maybe 300 square feet and put only 4 shoes? And that was the whole idea of is where retail moved into the presence that space is so important to make your product feel to the consumer. So and when the whole point was that how do you actually have a ROI of a per square feet
Yeah.
sales. So I think that was one of the biggest learning which I understood at that point of time, how the entire experiential marketing and experience was important, which enabled me when I worked with one of the other FMCG brand in my advertising stint, where experiential, I would say, shopper marketing really helped me to see that how the impulse buying happens. So that was another project which I did. The last one, which I will, the recent one is something that I'm doing right now is there's a history of a brand which has been there with the consumer. How do you change the uh, entire aspirational level of the brand for the new age, the new age young generation and also the millennials? I would say, how do you move from many India to the new India?
Yeah, that's a great line.
Yeah.
So, being the head of marketing, and marketing is a very wide field where everybody has to step out of their shoe to be creative and innovative. What is the principle which you imply to manage the team like that?
It's fun, I would say. I think I have a lot of passion for fashion and lifestyle. I love fashion. I breathe in fashion. I think that's always my motivation, and I think my team also. Sometimes they don't catch up with me in terms of so many conversation. I said, "Have you seen that ad? Have you seen that line from Anna Wintour to? Have you seen that new?" Conversation which happened in one of the international footwear brand. So for me, it is very important to be creative. To me, it is very important to be different. How I keep on pushing my team, and it's something which I feel that everyone should do in terms of actually the ideas can come, but most important is the screenplay. And the screenplay I meant in terms of marketing, how do you visualize that?
Yeah.
So sometimes what happened, we only leave it to the partners of advertising or any other, partners who work with us to leave the visualizations to them. But I think it is very important that with the consumer, how do you visualize to talk to that consumer to enable them to look up to you and to look up to the aspirationalness that you really want to talk about it. So from it's like I would say organically it comes to me that I'm slightly more inclined into creative aspect and visualization, and I also pass to my team to always look for that before you start a project. Don't jump into a project if it has to be finished within time or if you can't visualize it, because if you can't visualize it, you will not be able to deliver. So for me, even any conversation or any project which is at a strategic level which happens, extremely important for me to visualize. How do I see it before, even if it's like 6 months ahead, I'm doing a project?
How do you keep your pulse on consumer needs and their preference in the fast-going world?
Very difficult.
Well,
We keep on pacing ourselves, but I would say that digital first approach. I'm shifting my mindset into a complete 100% digital first approach. Second is how do you actually have a more conversational communication with the consumer through influencer marketing, through collabs and tie-ups. And if you see the recent tie-up that we are actually did with Alaya F for Max Urban.
okay.
So we understood that what is the need of collaboration, and it is not that the face of that we have got it into our brand. It is a collaboration that has been with the merchandise that we are selling. So entire style range and everything. It's a long-term association that is going to be with her. We just launched a campaign in August for that consumer of Gen Zs, which is Max Urban. And the next one, which you will be just seeing it recently, which is going to be with the Max mother brand, where we have signed up with Kalki Kotklan, who is going to be our brand ambassador and face. But again, it's not a face and ambassador only. It is a collaboration for her styles and curated styles that will be available at store. So what we realize that yes, there is a world of influencer marketing. There is a world of collaboration, which is really coming big in terms of brands. And I think collab is going to be the next big, avenue where the brand's presence has to be there. It can be with partners, it can be with any different industry. It is very moment marketing. Everything is with collab. So I feel that is the next level that we are, pacing up with the entire challenges.
Actually, it was very impactful. And what is the role customer feedback plays in shaping your marketing strategy? Can you provide an example that customer insights influenced a campaign?
Uh, One of the biggest one I would say is where we did a research, and as post pandemic we all went into research, understanding. We were every brand was a little bit of understanding how the online is working, how does offline is working, how the consumer is moving. Are they shopping more on online? Are they going to come back to brick and mortar? So everyone has their questions. I think we did a research and we realized that what is consumer is looking. Consumer is looking that I need to, and it's the same thing. What you see it on your mobile phone and you go to any of the social formats. Every scroll is giving you something new, right? Yeah. Every scroll is giving you something new information, new image, new conversation. We realize what is necessary for the consumer. How can he see something new every time he comes to my store? And that's where we came into, we will have new style every week. And that is a refresh that we are doing it in our Max stores. So that is the biggest strategy. If you ask me, that insight came that we are not able to see so much fresh offering from the brand. And we realized there is a problem statement that we had to address. And then, entire buying design, organization work, that how can we offer consumer a freshness whenever he walks into our store. So that's why the whole strategy moved, and that we said that every week we will refresh our merchandise and new styles will be added into our stores. And that's why the new campaign which will be there, new style every week. So that's how we moved into that, from the insight to the actual execution of the strategy.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, what is the most valuable lesson you have learned throughout your career journey?
Being extremely agile and flexible. So I think one of why I say agile and flexible is coming from the core ethos of any strategy and idea. If you don't have a bandwidth of how do you execute it, then it's a fail. You will fall flat. So I feel any idea, anything which is really out of the box, and it comes with strategies, thinking, lot of research, lot of thinking. When you speak to the consumer, but are you able to execute? And that's where your agility and flexibility comes. How fast can you execute it? How well can you execute it? How collaboratively you can execute it? And that's one mantra which I always feel. And I always ask my partners, great idea, will you be able to execute it? From my team, amazing, you've done it, like, great idea. I mean, this looks amazing. How long you will be able to execute it? These are very difficult and simple questions. But when you get the answers, then you realize it, oh my God, actually it's not easy to execute it. So I feel it, anything which is in terms of idea, strategy, thinking, the most important parallel work of any leader or any team member or any partner has to think about it. how well you can execute it for yourself and ultimately for the consumer. So agile and flexibility with execution is my one mantra, which I feel is like a baseline. You can't just get out of it, and especially in retail, because in retail the time frame, as you see, the fast pace and the questions are almost on the same lines. It is imperative for all of us to work really ahead and also foresee the challenges that you don't anticipate very easily. But when you actually be into a project and how do you really want to execute it, I mean, you really need to be prepared well. So I always feel any good project, any good thinking, any good creative, any good strategy, if you really want to launch, how can you execute it is a parallel answer that you need to be ready with.
That's really insightful.
Yeah.
So, my next question is, being such a successful woman in a leadership role, how do you see the diversity and inclusion in retail and fashion industry, and how does Max include these values?
Such a lovely question. So, I've been very lucky, I would say. I never felt, even in any of my stints across whatever I've done it, working with great leaders, great organization, diversity was always been like the topmost priority in every organization I've worked. And I think, India is also preparing themselves with the diversity, being, how you can be in the in women leaders, how you can have a great ratio of women leaders, complementing them. I also worked with a lot of women leaders who really inspired me where I am. That is one of the biggest thing that really helped me to look up to it. And uh, I think this is not a question that is relevant right now where India has already moved. It is a given question, when we are actually interviewing a lot of women team members, and coming from different geographies. I see the aspiration level. I'm coming from a very small town. It just enables me to think that uh, the it is limitless, right now, irrespective of gender. So, and ambition and the whole passion and seeing it, I think I was also into that phase when I really wanted to become something of my own in some sense, and make a differentiation and impact. How do I actually navigate my career? At that point of time, very less mentors were there, and I used to approach and ask them. Now I see that it is very easy for the new generation, how they are navigating it. They have much more clarity how it is. For me, it is, I would say, we value individuals irrespective of gender. Diversity has been really important for Max Fashion. One of the most important, I would say, I mean, this is something important insight for the industry. We are the only brand who has so many women leaders at a executive level. And I have my peers who are women. I have my seniors who are women. Our co-founder is a woman. Chairperson, Renuka is a woman. So we get inspired, and I think in that case, Landmark Group has been really, really far ahead in that thinking. That how do you really, shape the new women leaders into executive level, and little more larger roles and responsibility, because I think it also comes from in how the co-founders think, right? And if she's thinking in that way, we all think in that way. And when we hire, we are very, very open about how do we give that kind of balanced way of doing it. And I really don't think so diversity is any more a question for any of the organizations.
Yeah.
What does Max Fashion take to foster long-term customer, especially for their loyalty, like young generation, Gen Zs, who have a lot of options right now, and with your upcoming Max Urban?
Great question, actually. So basically, we realized that there is a age group which is really important for Max, and 17 to 22. So we launched our brand Max Urban 17 to 22. And we are not going for the first jobbers. We are not going to even 24, 25. And we are just being very cut in terms of the college. See, there is a different kind of a behavior which is happening with teens, and when they go to college, they are like, completely in terms of their own freedom, and they really want to do whatever they want to do. So, if you see it in terms of different categories, like how music has evolved in terms of India, like how food is involved, and how fashion is involved, there is a choice that this new generation is making. The choice is very sharp. They are very clear about it. I want to eat this. I'm into this kind of a genre of the music. I really want to wear oversized t-shirt. I want to wear cargo pants with multiple pockets. So they're very clear about what they want. It is no more very set things, where your parents used to say, or you never used to bother about it. Because what this generation needs is that they are updated, they look really good, and they feel good. That's very important, and they have a point of view. And what is how this point of view is coming, because they are doing a self expression. So whole idea of launching Max Urban, when we realize that how do we actually communicate to this generation, and we never had a lever to talk. I mean, as much as you want to do it on Max, you you were not able to connect to them, because they have seen the Max when they were very small kids, and now they are like really big and now. So then, obviously, Max Urban was already there in Dubai, and we thought that okay, there's a great brand, and something that we can also bring in India, and that's how Max Urban was born in now in India. We launched in February, and immense positive response which has happened from this age group. So the entire concept about this brand is that self-expression. How do you actually do a self-expression? Like, one of the campaign that we did was doing nothing. So basically, there is no agenda, just do nothing. And whatever you feel, you want to like eating a burger in the afternoon, or even sleeping in afternoon, no one is judging. So basically what they need is, don't need any judgment. I need to be self-expressive in terms of my thoughts. Very giving a very great vibe. How do I dress it? For different occasions. I don't have morning and evening. I can actually wear deeper colors in the morning to afternoon, and that's what I am. So basically, the whole conversation just moved, and that's why our designs also moved. If you ask me, our oversized t-shirts and oversized jackets are selling fastest, and then we realize that yes, this is something that they all feel very great about it, and Max Urban is just offering everything what they need. That's why the Max strategy changed completely, that this is very important, and we didn't launch it in few stores, we expanded it to all the Max stores. So if you really want to go to this brand, it is available in all Max stores.
Of course, we will try. Yeah. What has been the most significant change over the fashion marketing in last 5 years, especially after post-pandemic? And what Max Fashion have changed to adapt to these techniques and after the pandemic?
I would say the most important change is about the experience of consumer buying. I mean, even if you want to see it experience online and offline, and especially in offline, store experience has become like really important. Uh, you know, Earlier, if you go to any of the stores, if it's like really packed, or you're not getting it, the navigation is likely not great, or they're not feeling great about the store. It used to be okay in some sense, but now it is like the most important priority for any of the brand after COVID and post pandemic. The experience is very, very important. From the marketing standpoint, I would really say the store experience is also a part of conversation communication, where you do it with the consumer who walks in.
Okay.
The second part is where we are seeing entire digital shift.
Yeah.
So our media strategies, our investment strategies, our conversation strategies are only digital led. The third important is that how do you drive from omni perspective, offline to online. So I think these three aspects have come together. So one is the most important part is that how do you get the store experience as the topmost priority, supported by the entire omni strategy of online and offline. And the third strategy, can you be the digital first conversation brand with the pace of digital?
Yeah.
Yeah.
fashion being such a dynamic industry, how do you motivate yourself and your team being a leader to stay creative and innovative all the time?
Yeah, I think the most important part we always do is research. Whenever we have our personal trips or even any market visit, internationally or even domestic, we just try to do a lot of research and understand. One of the things which I practice is that any campaign in terms of this particular category across the world, we try to study deeper and understand, and we don't see competition only in India. We see globally how the brands are moving, a lot of research and everything. I think one of the things that we have realized that it is becoming easier for us also because of the digital space. Uh, Also seeing it in terms of talking to the industry experts, researching, going to their stores, it just gives you a little more value thinking. How can you imply to your business? I think that's what we keep on doing.
So, what is the like? Who was your role model, or I would say, source of inspiration to get into fashion and retail, and how did they influence your leadership role and approach?
I think, like many of them, I would say Anavatar, who has been always my inspiration. Someone who has been the best fashion leader in terms of so many aspects, running the biggest fashion editorial magazine to the fashion shows. Her voice speaks, her judgment speaks, the way that she carries, the way she looks at different designers, uh, even the shows. I think I love her. I mean, if you ask me, I can just watch her interview again and again, and I see that this is something which has always been there. You know, the entire fashion space, it's been there since decades during the wars and post that. How do you see the history of fashion? How do you actually get inspired from the history of fashion? And fashion and art are almost you can go deeper. But for me, I think she has been the most important person, if you ask me, as a leader, and who inspired me, honestly.
Yeah. How do you see the role of social commerce, like shopping through Meta, WhatsApp, and everything? Now it's evolving around India. I know Max is not doing that, but how do you see it?
No, actually, we do that social commerce. Honestly, we are very relevant on social commerce because on Instagram, any of the post conversation we divert it to our website. If you see stories and even in our bio link, we all have diversion to our website because it's most important part. Even on YouTube, if you ask me, everything goes to our website. So I think social commerce is the most important, and we whenever we work with influencers or any conversation, maxfashion.in is the most important conversation that we always integrate. So I think, and that's the whole idea of how can you be a little more omni on online to offline, and that's where we work. Uh, if you ask me, it is the most, it is like the most important priority at this point of time. I would say yes, because if you see it in terms of the traffic that we get it on maxfashion.in is like really big number, and we always value that any consumer who is coming, we will able to serve them. And the way that whole business is going onto our online space and multiplying, we see our future is going to be very bright in that sense, because the I see a lot of brands have not, they have their online presence. The effort and the way that we have curated our online presence is very distinct from our competitors. So that's where the difference comes. If you see, I mean, everyone has an online space, but we have a great business from online space. So I would say that's a seriousness that we always look at it.
That's actually great. Yeah, that's it from my.
And just adding on that question is that we always, how do we see the Omni? The recent launch that we have done it is that find your size. If any customer goes into a retail store and we can't find the size of, of particular style, he can actually look up to that particular style on online and you can order it. So that's where we are actually becoming little more, I would say, omni. Social commerce plus your retail commerce plus your click and collect, everything is like coming together. And that's why we are focusing on that piece very well.
Would you like to say something to our viewers?
Yes, I think I would really want to say that, as you move and you be a little more with the fast paced work and retail and everything, it is very important that how you can be a little more connected to your friends and family. And as you move into different roles, different cities and everything, take effort to be a little more connected to your network and your batchmates and your colleagues of various organizations. I think one of the things which I really wanted to cover up, and how can you be a little more humble about everything what you do. So I think that's where I feel your true presence as a person comes.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So that's it from our side. Thank you, Ms. Pallavi, for having your precious time with us. We wish you all the best for your career and future endeavors.
Thank you, Rupak. It was really nice, very, very nice, deep questions. I hope that make really good relevant to all your questions in terms of my answers.
Absolutely, it was.
Thank you. Thank you so much.